Hello guys, welcome to another video of the CSS Crash Course, and in this video we're going to be looking at colours and the different ways we can implement them in CSS. Before we get started guys, if you are interested in learning about web development, please consider subscribing to the CodeLab channel, as I do post weekly content on many different aspects of web development so we can get you closer to building your dream projects. Now just a quick note before we get started guys, if you are a UK watcher, the colour is spelled in the American way, so it's spelled without the U. Now you can see here in the slide that we've got 4 common colour values. Now there are more than 4, but the 4 most common you'll see are named, hex, RGB and RGBA. And what we're going to do now is go over these one by one. So the first one we're going to be looking at is the one you've seen me use most often so far, and that's named colours. So a good place to find colour names is the website W3 Schools. So let's head there now. So we're in W3 Schools website and we're inside H colour names. And you can see here that all modern browsers support the following 140 colour names, and you can browse through all of these and pick any colour that you like for your project. So let's head into VS Code now and see what this looks like. So as you can see, we're inside our CSS reference box, and I've created another file called 06_CSS_colors, and then inside our body we've just got a heading of colors, which you can see in the browser here. And then underneath this I've got 4 divs, and they've all got their own ID of box 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then a class of container. And then inside each of the boxes they've got a H2, a H3 and some dummy text inside a paragraph tag. And what we're going to do is just apply the 4 different CSS color values, or the 4 most common ways you'll see colors used. And as we said, that's named, hex, RGB and RGBA. Now there's a couple different color properties which affect different parts of your content, and they're quite self-explanatory. So if we go inside here inside the style tag, and we'll first focus on box 1, so we're looking at named, you can see here we've got background color, which obviously changes the color of the background, and then border color, which changes the color of the border, and text color, which changes the color of the text. It's just color, it's not text color. So let's change the background color now with a named color. So I'm just going to put here background color, and let's just give this a color of blue. And if you look in the browser, you can see now that the background color of our first box is blue. So let's change the color of the border. So we're going to say border color and say brown. And now the border of our color is brown. And then to change the color of the text, we're just going to say color, instead of text color, it's just color, and we're going to say white. And as you can see now, we've changed the color of our first box, we've changed the background, we've changed the color of the text, and we've also changed the color of the border. And it really is that simple when we're using named colors. Now the thing about named colors is that they're quite specific to the other ways we can color our projects. And the names for these colors are quite arbitrary, meaning that they're quite random in nature. So you've got names like Blanchard Almond or Burley Wood. Now because named colors are quite arbitrary and quite specific, in many ways they're quite limiting, and we only have 140 different options we can choose from. But there's so many more colors we can implement, so you might prefer using one of the other formats, which I'm about to go through now. Now the next method we can use to implement colors is hex or hexadecimal. Now pretty much any color you could think of has a hexadecimal value. Now hexadecimals are also known as hex triplets because there's 3 sets of 2 digits, which you can see here. So you've got the first 2, which represents the color red, the second one which represents the color green, and the third which represents the color blue. Now what we're going to do is step back into W3 Schools to showcase how hex works. So we're back inside W3 Schools, and you can see here we've got the hex calculator. Now all the values are at base 0, so we've got the color black. Now let's just say we wanted our color to be red. What we could do here is just slide this value all the way to the end, so it'll be FF, and now we have the color red, and you can see here that it's the first 2 digits are FF, and the next 2 doubles after this are at 0, so they're at base value. Now we can do the same thing if we just wanted the color green, so we'll just slide this all the way down to the end and we get the color green. Now the base for red is 0, and the same for blue, but green is at FF, so the highest. Now we can do same thing again for blue, so we just slide this all the way across and we've got FF for the last 2 digits. Now the way hexadecimals work is that the base is 0, so first you start with the first number on the right, and this goes to 0 to 9, and then once you get to 9, instead of switching to 10, you first do A to F, and then it switches to the left and goes to 10, and then the process then repeats itself, so you go 0 to 9, then A to F, and at which case you get to 20, and the process repeats itself until you eventually get to FF, and this applies to each hex triplet. Now there is a shorthand for hex or hexadecimals, so if the digits repeat themselves you could just write them in one of the digits. So let's go back in W3 Schools and find us some hexadecimal values for our second box. So first let's pick a background color for our second box, so you can just play around with this. So I'm just going to move this around here, and then maybe put in a bit of green and then more blue, so it's got this nice purpley color. Then I'm just going to copy and paste this Then we're going to go back into VS Code and apply this to the background for the second box. So we're in VS Code and we'll go underneath the comment of background color inside our ID of the box 2 and then paste this in here. As you can see, it's applied the exact same color, or the exact same hexadecimal we created in W3 School's hex calculator. So I'm just going to go underneath this and say color instead of text color, it's just color. And we can use a shorthand for this. So F 6 times is white, but because we're repeating it, we only need to put 3. So it's created a white text for us. So let's do the same thing for the border. So we're just going to create a shorthand for this. So the property here is border color. And let's just give this a light gray. So it's hashtag. And we're just going to say CCC, so it's kind of a light grey colour. And if you look in the browser, you can see now the border of the second box has a light grey colour to it. And that's how we can implement hex or hexadecimals within our projects. Now another method we can use is RGB. Now if you're more into your numbers, you would use RGB because this uses base 10. So after 9 is 10, after 99 is 100. So the way RGB is specified is very similar to hex. So first you put RGB, brackets, first value is red, second is green, third is blue. Now each parameter of red, green and blue defines the intensity of the colour as an integer between 0 and 255. So there's essentially 255 levels of red, green and blue, or 256. And each level from 0 going up all the way to 255 is the intensity of the colour. So for example, 100 is more intense than 0 and 255 is more intense than 100. So we're going to go back into W3 Schools as there's an RGB calculator. Now this works the exact same way as the hex calculator. So what we're going to do is just create a background colour for our third box. So I'm just going to create more of an orangey colour. So we go all the way to the end here and we grab the green and we just move it across. So we get to the kind of orangey colour we like, and then we just copy and paste this and we head back into VS Code and then we just copy and paste it in here. And as you can see now, the third box has the same background colour that we created in W3 Schools. Then we can follow a similar pattern here, so we can do the same with the text colour. So you just put in colour, RGB, hit enter, and it even gives you red, green and blue. So we can make our text white, so we'll just say 255. And then if you look in the browser, you can see now that the text is white inside box 3. And we can do the exact same thing for border color. So let's just say border color and say RGB. And let's give this a red border. So all we do in here is just put the highest intensity for red. And then the next two values of green and blue are just 0. And then the third box, as you can see in RGB, has a red border. Now kind of a level up from RGB is RGBA. And this works the exact same way, but we have one more feature, and that's the alpha. So what I'm going to do is just close off box 3, or the div of box 3, and I'm going to give this a background color of black. So we've got background color, and we're going to say RGB, and that gives us the background color of black. Now we can't see the text, so let's change the color of the text to white. So that changes the color to white. Now what we're going to do is go back inside the background color and we're going to introduce the alpha. So we put a comma after the third parameter. Now this ranges from 0, which means fully transparent, and 1, which means fully opaque. So if we put 1 in here, you can see now it's got the full color, so it's fully opaque. Now if we slowly lower this, so let's say 0.8, you see now it's starting to become a bit lighter because the white is starting to come through as it's getting more transparent. So we can do 0.5. You see now the white comes even more through and it's looking more of like a grey color. And let's bring it down to 0.1, and you can see now it's almost pretty much transparent and you can't really see the black color anymore, and it's kind of just a light gray. But that's essentially how we use the alpha. So you'd maybe use it in things like headers, or if you just want some transparency in some of your content. And that's how we apply the 4 most common CSS color values, guys. It's really easy to use and implement, and there are many great tools and websites such as W3 Schools and the Hex and RGB calculator to help you find the best colors for your website. But that'll be it for this video, guys. If you like the content, please hit the like button and please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.